Putting the 60s wellies to the test, I went up to the Levant Strait and then I went to have a look at the Levant Bank parking. Now you do need to be a Goodwood member to get in here, but I said to the man on the gate, I said, look, it's raining. I want to show people at home these cars because I doubt they'll have walked up and braved this weather. And he very kindly let me in so that I could show you. As you can see, the 60s wellies were holding up well and actually made it through the entire event, which I'm really surprised at because we had a few casualties, including my eyelash, which you can see at the end of the video is hanging off. Now, as you can see here, there were a marvellous array of cars that people have brought out despite the weather, and I loved that. And this is the thing that you see at Revival, is that people aren't put off by a little bit of weather. So don't let you be put off either. Because the thing is, I've seen so many moaning minis online saying, oh, it's September and you don't know what the weather's going to be like. We live in Great Britain. You never know what the weather's going to be like. That's one of the joys of living here. It's why it's one of our topics of small conversation. I mean, look, just turn up. You only get one life. Now, if you're watching this video and thinking, I've never been to Goodwood Revival before and I would definitely like to go next year, but I don't know what I'm going to be doing and all the rest of it. The one bit of strong advice that I would give, apart from wearing sensible shoes, is buy your tickets early. So if you buy them early enough, and I think it's before the end of January or the end of February, I can't remember, you get an early bird discount. But I always say to people, try and tie it into Christmas. So if you've got anybody who is scratching around looking for a gift for you, or your family say they don't know what to get you, get them to buy you tickets for Revival, because it's going to be months before you enjoy it, but it's going to be such a brilliant delayed present and you're not going to regret doing it. And book for as many days as you can as well, because despite me doing around 25 to 30,000 steps a day, I still didn't see everything all in one day. I think you need at least 2 days. 3 if you can stretch to it, but 2 is definitely what you need to be aiming for if you can manage it. Now this area up here, it books really, really quickly, just like the tickets, and it's worth booking your parking. So if you are in a classic car, you're intending to bring a classic car, the classic car parking that you book is free. So all the parking that you saw earlier on, you can book those spaces. You do need to book it, however. You can't just think, oh, I'll see what the weather's like and bring my classic and then turn up and hope that they'll put you in the right area. Because obviously they need to manage the space as well. And it is free to get that. So make sure you put that onto your order when you're buying your tickets. If you don't fulfill it, you won't be in trouble, but it is something that you need to do. Now, again, a special thanks to all the Goodwood members that brought out all these fabulous vehicles, especially considering the weather, because you might think that some people have been scared off. However, it didn't seem to, and there were lots of rare and magical vehicles that were out that some of them, again, I've just never seen in real life. And I love the fact that they were there. And it was the variety as well. I mean, you had everything from a Morris Minor to a luxury pre-war car to an Aston Martin. I mean, it's just great. And the fact that people aren't frightened to use them. This is an area where I'll be coming back to again. Not one that I've previously seen. So it does prove that even if you've been before, there is always something new to see. It's time to head over the road. So you cross the bridge, and don't worry for my pals that are disabled that are watching this. As you can see here, there are walkways throughout so you can explore everything, and you don't have to go over the bridge. So if you have a disability, they do a road crossing as well, and there are people there the entire time ensuring that your crossing is safe. A little thing to mention, but I know that some of you are a little bit wary about coming to Goodwood because you might be worried about access, but everywhere you go, it's easy to get across. Now over the road there's a whole host of other entertainment which isn't necessarily related to the racing. Now one of my favourites is always the cinema. It has a drive-in element of it as well, so you can book spaces inside the classic vehicles and sit in. They do free popcorn. There are different classic films throughout the day. So this year they had Italian Job, they had Greece, and they had something else that has completely slipped my mind. But just really great feel-good family films, so you can sit down again and chill out. And as I pan round, you'll be able to see that there are loads of deck chairs as well. So again, it's just a nice relaxing area. You've also got the Victorian Fun Fair, which for me really comes into its own at night because of all the lights. Have a look. So do you see what I mean? It just adds an air of magic to it, and I love this. It's £3 a ride this year, so not too bad and cheaper than most commercial fun fairs. There's also a bar inside, the Valdo bar, and you've got a band, and there is entertainment running till 10, 11 o'clock at night. It's definitely worth staying on late. Now look, each year Goodwood put different things on the track, and this year they put on a VE Day celebration to celebrate the anniversary, and I thought this was a particularly lovely touch to the event, and they took an hour out for this. So there was this display, and I had to show you it as it happened because it was absolutely bonkers. All these people in period 1940s dress carried out picnic tables, and then they set out a picnic. And I could not believe it. I could not believe my eyes, because I thought when they said, oh, we're going to be having a parade, I assumed that it would be wartime vehicles. And I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to turn up for that, you know, go and get excited, wave a flag or two. And then this happened, and I thought, actually, this is a brilliant start to it. So what happened was, the people in correct period costume were invited down onto the track to join the revellers, and they did a picnic. Now I don't know if you can see it in the background, but you can see the Goodwood waiters down there, and they're actually carrying jugs of orange squash and biscuits on, because remember, when it was VE Day, they had street parties, and that was what this element was trying to capture. It was the street parties before they brought the vehicles out on parade, and I loved that. It was something different. It made me feel quite emotional, it made me feel quite patriotic, and I just thought it was rather marvellous. Now here are some of the vehicles. Unfortunately, we had to dash off halfway through, so I've not got all the vehicles there, but I wanted to give you a bit of a taster for what they had out. And look at all the crowds. It was just, you know what, it was like nothing else I've ever experienced at Goodwood. I loved it. Now this is an area of Goodwood Revival that you may never have seen. This is the taxi rank. So if you're staying at the Goodwood Hotel, they run a selection of classic and vintage vehicles taking you to and from Goodwood itself. Now this, I always think, is a little bit of a gem. So whilst you can't really walk around inside here because of health and safety, you can bob your head just to the entrance and have a look, and it is always worth doing it because I've seen everything in here. I've seen Jowers, I've seen our Roots Group stuff, I've seen Willie's wartime Jeeps. Oh my goodness, the selection of vehicles that they have running as taxis is truly exceptional. Now because I've got the magical press armband on, they have said that I can go in and film them. So come on, let's kind of a closer look at what they've got. Now I'm a bit of a perfectionist for putting on an event, and in my life before I drive a classic and I did all my classic motoring, I did a lot of events, and for me, if an event wasn't perfect, I used to beat myself up about it. And I really look at other people's events and I judge them quite critically, and I love Revival. I think they do it so well, and I love the fact that whichever area you're in, it's curated perfectly. It's something they get so right, and I admire so much because it's such an enormous site that it must be really hard to make sure that the golden thread of what you're doing runs through it so perfectly, but they get it just spot on. And the taxi rank was no exception, even though it wasn't a high traffic area. A shout out to the carry on cabby bit with the speedy taxis. But anyway, I also want to give a mention to one of the taxi drivers, and I feel really awful, I've forgotten his name, but he offered me a ride on Facebook and he said, oh, pop in and I'll give you a lift, and he'd driven his vehicle all the way from Yorkshire, and I'm really, really sorry that I didn't get to come and see you, but I just ran out of time. The bad weather stripped so much time out of my day for filming, and I'll catch you next time, I promise. We talk about curating, and a big part of Revival for me that I absolutely love are all the pop-ups and displays. Now some of these you'll have seen in previous years, and some of them will be completely new, and that's what I love. So the things that I really miss the Glam Cabs display. I used to love that, with all the girls dressed up and that you could pose with them. But one of the more traditional displays that has come back again is the police vehicle display. So I was really pleased to see that just around the corner from the hippies. And it was great because you saw people in police uniforms interacting with the hippies, pretending to arrest them or tell them off. And it's everybody gets into character. It's not just about the costume. Now, one of the things that I liked this year and I thought was particularly inventive was the HSBC airport. And so they'd put out an old Austin taxi out the front with all the luggage in. And again, it's the lengths and the efforts that people go to dress these areas so perfectly, using period correct pieces, using antiques to dress the areas. I get really into it, and I am a bit of a vintage snob. I do look at things and see if they're done right and they've used the right things for the right period. And I know some of you do as well. And again, this area had postcards that you could send home. So my auntie watches all my videos. So Ash, you'll have to let me know, that's my auntie, if you get your postcard that comes over to Australia. So I mailed it over and I thought, right, let's test if you really can send a postcard anywhere in the world. So if you get that, do let me know. But again, this area all laid out really well and anybody could come into this and relax. So it was a great space to just chill out and have a look round when the weather was bad. Now, another one of the areas that they have out every year that I particularly like is the 1940s wartime display. And again, a little bit like, did you watch my Carfest video? If you did, you'll have seen that was a 1940s display there as well. And I think that years ago, it used to be much easier to put stuff like this on and to curate spaces like this. But nowadays, 40s stuff is so difficult to find and to maintain and to care for, and things are becoming ever more fragile. And yet, displays like this invite people in. I mean, albeit some of it was behind a rope, which I do understand because they are fragile vehicles that perhaps have moving parts on that you need to be really careful about. And I was talking to one chap and he said, oh yeah, I use this all the time. And I thought, this is great that people are taking vehicles that are, from the 30s and 40s and still using them all the time. I love that. And again, they were fixing bits and they were showing people how they were fixing bits. And these boys in overcoats were chatting away and saying, oh, you can do it like this and we're doing this fix. And that's one of the loveliest things about this area is that people are so friendly. So don't miss it. It's up near all the planes. Now, I know that some of you do really enjoy the planes, so I must apologise because in my head, I plot when I'm going to come back to certain areas and film certain bits. And every time I tried to get back and come back and film the planes, the weather was so bad that I just wasn't able to get it on camera properly. So really the only bit where you see how bad some of the weather got was when we were up at that Levant Bank parking area. But look, this was, I thought, brilliant. Look, they were inviting kids in to learn about air raid shelters, and there were people chatting away to kids, letting them dress up. And again, what better way to learn about history than to immerse yourself in it? This is what gets people interested. And remember, if we forget history, we are doomed to repeat it. You've also got the Revive and Thrive area just behind the Revival Style section. And again, this is worth coming to see because you get to see people use skills that you don't necessarily see anymore, including the Tyrrell shed. And there were also the performers as well. So these were popping up all over. It was fabulous. And you also had little acts like this which would move around and you'd have to try and spot them. And I just love stuff like that. I think it is brilliant. Now, one of the other areas that I want to show you is what I like to call the cheese on toast area. Don't know what this section's called, but you've got all the seesaw swings and stuff like that. It's where they used to have the Dig for Victory section. Worth the walk down because again, it's one of the quieter areas where you can just chill out. Now, this is one of the areas that they redo every year and they do something different with it. And this is quite near, if you've been before, it's near that main area where you first walk in. And this was the tiki bar area this year, and they do it almost like a Hawaiian themed tiki experience. And I love that they bring these areas to life, not just with displays of pop-ups, so you get your bars and your eateries, but also the vehicles as well. And it's worth going to see as many of these as you can, because each area you feel like people that are responsible for it have put their heart and soul into it. The vehicles are out, usually rare vehicles as well that you maybe haven't seen anywhere else. And I love coming to look at stuff like this because American vehicles aren't usually what I'm focused on my videos. And so therefore getting a chance to come and see them as part of the wider experience for me is a lovely thing indeed. And I love how in each area you'll have refreshment zones, you'll have bars, you'll have places to eat, and all of them have been done up to fit within the area that they sit within. And I think again that is just marvellous. And of course there is a dance floor in this area, and there always tends to be a dance floor within this area and a band performing. So again, if you are going into these areas, make sure you stick around and have a good old look, watch people dancing, get involved with it, because this is the magic of Goodwood. There is something at every corner and something to take away. Well, that's it from me today, and that's it from Goodwood Revival 2025. Sorry if the sound on this bit is a little bit off, but would you believe it, the connector thing at the bottom of my iPhone now will no longer accept charge or the microphones. So hopefully the phone isn't dead, and if you're watching this video, it means that the phone hasn't died and managed to get all the footage off it, so thank goodness for that. Anyway, it's time for me to go home, chuck my phone in a bag of rice, get some sleep and head back to work. But blimey, what an incredible time we've had at Goodwood 2025. It's been one of the very best. I've enjoyed it immensely, and I am very, very tired, which is always the sign of a very good time well spent. Now, I'm going to say goodbye. Let me know what your favourite bit was in the comment section below, and if you're going to come next year and I'm going to see you there, let me know. And if we didn't get to meet up this time, I'm really sorry, but it's enormous, it's big, and there's always someone you end up missing out on. But yeah, that's it. So until next time, take care and drive safely.